welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing good. My name is Mishka, and in today's video we will be building a dream artist penthouse. We are building in the San Myshuno world, which comes with city living, and this is in the art district, and it is the Fountainview Penthouse lot. I forgot what the lot size is, but I'll pop it on the screen. And we are, like I said, building a dream artist penthouse, and it's going to be very industrial looking on the outside and then very colorful on the inside. But before I go too far into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I know I haven't posted in a while, but I did post in my community tab that something had happened with my laptop. I was busy editing the last video that I posted, and the laptop screen just started flickering like black. I remember that as I was uploading it to YouTube, I could no longer see what I was doing because I basically, I guess, messed up the screen entirely to get that video uploaded. But it's fine, you know, it was gonna happen anyways. And I thought it would be a really quick fix, but I guess with tech hardware, sometimes, you know, it's not a quick fix. And so I had to wait like 3 weeks, and I built this 3 weeks ago. I think it's 3 weeks or maybe longer. I don't remember much, but I will try and explain a lot of what I think I was thinking at the time when I did this. And I then came back into my game yesterday or so, and I realized that I didn't really like the outside of the build. I didn't record any of the changes that I made, but I'll explain which changes I did end up making. I do kind of want a second opinion on whether those change, like whether this shape of the outside structure looks better or whether the new one that I came up with looks better, which I'll show in the end clips. But I remember I was struggling so badly with the structure on the outside. I think it took me like a day just to come up with the structure. So I would say that this build is a little bit more experimental, and the reason why I'm posting it is because, one, I did take the effort to record it and edit it, so I just feel like it would be a waste to not post it. I have nothing to lose by posting it. But I'm not sure about the shell. Okay, I like the inside. I love the inside. I think the inside is fit for a sim that is an artist. So I thought that, you know, this kind of build would be fitting for the art district in San Myshuno, and that this would be basically where an established, well-known artist would be staying, and that they collect, you know, a lot of art. There's a lot of art in this build. I would say that the outside of the build, I think I mentioned this, is more industrial, and then the inside is like a modern eccentric style. I would also say there's like a little bit of maximalism. So the idea for this build was, one, to make sure that it had a really big, spacious art studio that is kind of more on the messier side, and, you know, there's like art and painting everywhere. And then I also wanted, I think you call it a mezzanine, which is like where you have, so the living room, I wanted the living room to be 2 stories high. So to have really high ceilings, and then also to have a section of the second floor looking down into the living room. And I think, well, that's what you would call a mezzanine. I think that's what you would call a mezzanine. But I don't know what the actual definition for it is. But that was what I was going for with the build. And so kind of that is like I guess the why I built it the way that it is built. So right now I'm just trying to make, I think I saw this in a photo, right? With these small windows on the top of the 2 sections of the build. And so I was trying to find out how I could do that. So I used half walls, and then I raised the platform up so that there was a roof on top of the half wall, and then I just placed those windows on there. I think that window is from Horse Ranch, and then I just used other windows from Moschino, the Moschino stuff pack, and then I think I used windows from Industrial Loft Kit. And the reason I actually wanted to build this is that I ended up purchasing the industrial loft kit and the artist, what is it called? The artist studio kit, I think. Yes, so I this just made sense to build it here because, like I said, it's the artistic, and then the fact that I got those two kits, I wanted to kind of see if I could build something that fit the style of those kits. Not really the industrial loft kit style, because like I said, it's very colorful inside, but I wanted to use the vents from that kit in this build. And so one of the big changes that I did make, like I said, is I took off that round roof. I just felt like the windows were too much, and I ended up making it a flat roof, but I only did that yesterday, and like I said, I finished this build 3 weeks ago. So you can let me know which one you like better. And then I ended up doing some things on the roof, and I use a chimney because there is a fireplace in the inside. And then I was starting with the outside area, so mapping it out. I think one thing that I also struggled with was the outside area. So I don't love the outside shell, like I said, but I love the inside, and I just felt like I would love to post this just for the inside. So I'm not really expecting anybody to download it or, you know, to like it enough, because like I said, I'm on the fence about how the outside looks, but I think the inside is really good. And so in future, I want to do something else, but using the style that I used on the inside in maybe like a more modern house, not this industrial kind of look on the outside. And so I was kind of playing with the outside, and I kind of went back and forth with what I wanted to do for outdoor, like, you know, areas or entertaining areas. I think sometimes it's a little bit weird to do them in penthouses, because even like putting down the grass there, I was like, does that make sense? But I guess you can like kind of have fake grass on, you know, in the outside areas for penthouse. And so yeah, I just started with the outside, but then I go inside because I wanted to get a feel for the style of the inside, and then kind of come outside and bring some of that style on the outside. And at the point that I was building the outside, I didn't really know what, you know, I had in store for the inside. Yeah. But anyways, I hope everyone is doing really, really good. I have been so miserable by the fact that I could not be posting, and I just felt like it came at a time where I was finally, you know, building momentum and stuff. I had 2 videos or 2 builds that I'd finished. I was planning on, this was the day it happened, literally the day before the kitchen clutter kit and the restoration workshop kit came out, and I was planning on making content for that, and I was so excited that I was, you know, on track, that I was going to be able to make the content for that, I was going to be able to upload it. And I was so also excited to do a house that looked really lived in, a family home. And I got the idea mainly from the fridge that comes from the kitchen clutter kit. It just like reminds me of a fridge that we had in our home growing up, and so I wanted to do a house kind of with that feel. But you know, I can still do it. Maybe that will be the next build that I upload next week. So we'll see. And then I also wanted to mention that I don't know what my posting schedule is going to be like, because I've decided last minute that I'm going to write my board exams, which in South Africa, when you study a law degree, in other countries, I think they call it the bar exams, but in our country, we call it the board exams. And I've been putting it off for 4 years now, because to be honest with you, I don't want to be a lawyer. I really don't want to be a lawyer, but it's very difficult, I feel like, to do things and to really grow with just a legal degree, with a law degree. I feel like you do need to kind of take that step and become admitted as an attorney, and then you have more leeway with what you can do and so on. So that's what I need to work, study, and then also upload. I don't want to sacrifice any of those, you know. I want to be able to do it all. And so I'm gonna see how that works out, but please be patient with me. I am gonna try my best to become someone who is good at time management, because unfortunately I'm not really good at that, but I'm gonna see how it works out. And you know, if at the end of the day I have to put YouTube on hold just to, you know, finish off that chapter with my law degree, I will have to do that. But that makes me sad because I feel like I've always done that. I've always put off things that I really enjoy for things that maybe that I don't enjoy as much anymore. So we'll see. I'm trying not to be too negative about it and just, you know, have positive thoughts. But enough about that in my life. What I'm doing right now is I had this balcony and I mainly built it just, you know, to give some shape on the other side of the build because it was looking very blocky, and so I wanted to make some bump outs, but I wasn't planning on putting a door out to that balcony. And you could definitely put a door out to that balcony because I have a lot of windows there at the moment. And so I just decided to put a, what do you call that, a sign on that balcony. But if you wanted to make it a door by these windows, there's this hallway on the second floor, you could definitely do that and then have a section where your Sims can go out there. And the city view is definitely nicer from that balcony, I would say. So that was just not what I was feeling at that moment in time. But anyways, we've moved in now, and with apartments and penthouses in San Myshuno, you need to have, you know, the chute, the trash chute, the mailbox, and an elevator. Otherwise you would not be able to save the lot even. So I put that in that section, which you saw me do now. This is a longer video, mainly because I did a lot of cluttering, and also the reason why you see me transition to a kitchen almost halfway done is because I kind of did this kitchen so many times. I remember I was trying out one thing and then trying out another thing, and I wanted it to be a little bit more quirky and stuff. So I was busy, you know, testing out different things, and I wanted a backsplash for this kitchen, but I wanted it to be a little bit different from the ones that we have in game, and you'll see me do it in a few minutes, I guess. But I'm gonna pull out the llama painting and I'm gonna use that as a backsplash. I don't know why I thought of that, but like I said, I just wanted something different and I wanted the place to be really colorful. And just when you size down the llama painting, it actually makes the perfect size for a backsplash. And I think it fits with the idea of the sim that I have living here. The sim would probably be very, you know, unique, eccentric, a colorful personality that lives in this house. So there you can kind of see it's not llamas right now. What is that? Sloth. Yes, I think it's a sloth. And then I changed, I placed them all down as sloths first, and then I ended up changing them to, you know, I think the other one is a llama, and then I think the other one is a raccoon. I could be wrong. Or is the raccoon one the one that came with businesses and hobbies? But I ended up changing them so that they were a little bit different in a certain pattern. And then for the kitchen cabinets, I use Home Chef Hustle, and as well as for the island section. And I'm just going to show me placing down a few of the paintings, and then we will, you know, there we go, transition to the finish, because it did take me quite a while to line them up and space them out correctly. And then for the lights, I used the industrial loft kit again, and I ended up changing the floors to this darker wood. I don't know if I do end up changing it back to a lighter wood. I think so. Like I said, I built this about 3 weeks ago, so I'm trying to draw on my memory of 3 weeks ago of what happened here. And I did watch the video, but I don't remember if I changed it back. And then I used a hood that was from the base game, and then the stove and the stove top is from Dream Home Decorator. I think that sink is also from Home Chef Hustle. I really like that sink. I think it's definitely one of my go-to sinks now. And for the inside, I was trying to match the colors that you see in the backsplash that I created with what I was putting around the island. And then also you'll see me do the dining room later, and I tried to match those colors in again, but I tried to keep the colors like a lot of colors, you know, not like usually I will use just maybe 2 colors. I'll use a neutral and then an accent color, or I'll do 3, so a neutral and then 2 accent colors. But in this house, I feel like it's the other way around. Yeah, there's a lot of color, and not so much neutrals, or maybe there's a good balance of it. I don't know. You can let me know if it's maybe a good balance of the neutrals and then the accent colors. But right now it actually doesn't look like I changed the faces and they're all the slots, but I know that I did make some of them llamas. I don't know if I show that in the video. I don't know. But on the other side, I just made a small entryway there, and then I did do the layout for this. So initially I was going to do the art studio in that section at the back, but later on I decided not to do that, and I decided to do it on the other side of the house, which we will do after we do the living room. And I think there's a room and a room and a bathroom that I do before we go to the art studio. And I was just cluttering here with different objects across, you know, the different packs that we have. And then I also ended up, I forgot to place it down, but I ended up placing down one of the soap dispensers from the everyday clutter kit. No, it's the bathroom clutter kit, I think. There's so many kits that I am really trying to remember all of them, but most of the time I don't. And I just remembered that I used a lot of one of the creator kits, and I never remember the name of that creator kit. I think it's called Retro something, and I don't remember who the creator was. But yes, you'll see me change the colors of the walls and the floors a lot of times throughout, but they don't really stay that color because I was unsure about which colors matched better with, you know, all of the other colors that I have in the bold. But I do think that at the end they kind of all looked good. It came together. And so for the dining room, I'm not sure where the table is from, but I know the chairs are from Businesses and Hobbies, and then that light is from the kit that I can't remember, the retro kit. I really don't remember the name. But yes, this is the dining room, and I wanted this first section to be very open plan, and I was going to make it the living room, but like I said, I wanted the living room to have that 2-story living room, and it just made sense to put it in on the other end of the build, so that I could still have all of the space upstairs to make the bedrooms. I forgot to mention that this build has, or I managed to fit in 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Then there's an extra room which I end up making a game room, but you could definitely convert that into a gym. You could make it an office, another bedroom, a kid's room. I don't really imagine children staying here. I feel like the person who would be staying here is going to be, you know, a sim that is really focused on their career. And then there is another room that I feel like looks quite like someone lives there. I don't think that would be their partner, or, well, why would they live in separate rooms? But you know, that's a thing I hear, that people do live in separate rooms, which honestly doesn't sound bad. But anyways, I made another room, and it's after the living room we will go into that room and design that room. And I think that room could be for a roommate, so someone that lives with, not in the sense that they need someone to live with them to necessarily afford the penthouse. I think they are very successful in their art career, but I think just someone that they have there because they want to have them there, another sim that they want to have there, want to have live with them, I should say. And yeah, so I just decorated these shelves. I think those are book nook shelves, but the ones that don't have any books in them. And then I just decorated them with different kits. Once again, that retro kit that I can't remember. And then there's another one. There's another one that just came out. I think it's Pierism's kit that I also used in that shelves. And then now we're moving on to the living room. And I decided to go with, you know, these blues and oranges to kind of tie in the kitchen colors again. And there's a lot of colors in here, but I feel like they all work. And that couch is from the kit that I can't remember again. And then the fireplace is from Decor to the Max. And that seat, the lip seat, is from Love Struck. Yes. And then for the table, I wanted to have at the table have a shelf under, but there wasn't any other tables that had the colors that I wanted firstly. And then also I have this problem with tables that come with this game. They are so huge, they are so big, and I don't understand why. And so I think one of them is from high school years, and I can't remember where the other one is, but I used 2 tables to create the table that I wanted. And then I used different books and CDs because I wanted it to have this cluttered feel. There was an inspo photo that I was using for the living room, and I'll see if I can find it and then I'll put it in the video as well. So I just placed a whole lot of books and then raised it up using the tool mod to fit on the shelf that is on the table at the bottom. I think I did have to size down the table at the bottom just a little bit so that it wasn't sticking out. But yeah, that's how I did that. And then for the TV, that TV is from Modern Lux, I think. Yes, so it's one of those framed art TVs. And then I just used a lot of art from all over, you know, different packs for the rest of the art on the wall. I think, you know, the one with the houses on that I just removed was from Love Struck. The other one that I placed in or replaced it with is from the base game. One is from Horse Ranch, the other one is from Dream Home Decorator, and then the top one, it's a section of 4 paintings or 5 paintings, sorry, that is from Movie Hangout stuff. And then I used that pedestal is from the base game, and then I replaced it with the one that we got from the kit. I think it was the one with Purism. I'm not sure what the name is. Like I said, lots of kits, lots of names. And then I used the art studio statue to place on top of the kit. And then for the section here, I placed down 3 tables from, I think it is not Oasis Courtyard Deluxe, the Desert Lux kit, yes, 3 of those. And then I use that to kind of place all of this clutter on. I feel like the person that lives here would have a lot of knickknacks, a lot of books, a lot of art. Obviously, the inspo photos that I was looking at for this build, there was art sorry, all over the wall. I thought it may be a little bit too much, but I think I did kind of capture that idea in this build. With the amount of paintings that I placed around the TV, and then the fact that the TV also looks like an art piece is kind of cool as well. So I kind of feel like I showed that idea here, if that makes any sense. And then for the rest, there was this open section at the back of the living room that it was kind of going to be dead space if I didn't do anything with it. So I just put down a record player. I think the record player that I do end up putting down is from Party Essentials. I think it may be Party Essentials. I can't remember if we got another record table from another kit or pack recently. I feel like we have a new record player from a recent pack, but there you kind of see me convert. So I was going to do that as the art studio. I felt like it was too small for the idea that I had in my head, so I ended up converting it into the first bathroom and bedroom in this home. And then that room at the back that I'm placing down windows for at the moment is where I made the game room. And then I just wanted to place some more art down there. Again, you know, there's art everywhere, and I know that may be a little much for some people, but I feel like it fits with the unique sim that I had in mind. Don't necessarily have a story for that sim. I just know that they are, you know, an established artist and so on, and I know a lot of people make use of the art career, and then that this is in the art district in San Myshuno. So I used, I think, the paintings from Love Struck for the top part next to the windows that I placed, and then this graffiti I got from Businesses and Hobbies, and I think the recording stickers things, I think that may be from high school years, I don't know. But yes, that record player is definitely from Party Essentials. The martini lamp I think is from the base game, and maybe the base game or City Living, and then that chair is from Love Struck. But I think that chair and the Lips chair is locked behind the love counselor career thing. I've never played through the career, so I'm not sure what exactly it is called, but I think it's locked behind there, and so you need to progress through the career to then get those items. I use a cheat for it, so that's why I have it open. And then I place down more of the CDs that is in the base game, and then a gramophone. Is that a gramophone? I think that's what it's called. And then yeah, I decided to create that mezzanine thing that I was describing in the beginning, and I used the fencing from, I think that is the base game. I could be wrong. I really could be wrong about that. And then place down doors to go into the rooms. I did end up changing the decorations that I placed in this little hallway that I'm making, and just using that stickers, graffiti things from Lovestruck, and then the painting from the base game. And then for the bathroom, because of the bump outs that I made on the side of the build, there was this odd space, so I decided to use that for the toilet as like a separate section. And then I was looking for some art, right, that I could place on the walls, but as a kind of like a feature wall in the bathroom. And so I found these in Lovestruck live edit mode, and I used those. Because they are sized down, they do have a little bit of a shadow. It doesn't bother me as much, and I did use a lot of lighting in it to just, you know, make it look a little bit better. So I think I like how it turned out. And then I always use those spray lighting, strip lighting, to just create a little bit more lighting around, especially when I use those columns. Those columns are from City Living, and I usually use them to clean up and make something look more finished. And so I use those columns, and then the little trim that I put at the top is actually a curtain rod from For Rent. And I once again just put that down to give it a more cleaner look, make it look like it was, you know, purposeful, and also to hide the edges of the painting, make it look more like it was not a painting stuck on the wall, but that the wall was actually painted to look that way. And then I used the new partitions that we got with the sleek bathroom kit, and I think I used the shower from Snowy Escape, and then that wall thing that I placed on with the sponges and the soaps and stuff, that's also from the new bathroom kit. And then because I placed these columns off center, for some reason they keep on, that one column only keeps on rotating back to the narrow side. But all you have to do, if that happens to you when you download this, is to then just rotate it back and it'll be fine. And also I have to mention, if you ever place any of my builds, I ran into this problem with this build, always ensure that your move objects on cheat is activated, because what that will do is, if it is not, when you place down this build, things will disappear, things will be out of place, and yeah, it just won't look the way that you see it here. And so when I was coming back into the game, because I didn't update my mods yet, I did not have move objects on. So before I uploaded this to the gallery, I actually had to correct things, place things back down, and so on, because I did not have that cheat activated. So just make sure you put in the cheat before you place any build, really, from any creator, because most creators are using move objects cheat. It's so that, you know, you can make the place look more lived in, more cluttered. You can place decorations in a way that is better. Otherwise it will just end up looking like, you know, what EA houses look like, or the houses that come with a certain pack look. Sometimes they look very sparse, cold, like there's no design thought process in them, because you can't really place objects close to each other if you don't have the move objects on cheat activated. And if you want to know how to do that, there's literally so many videos by creators on how to activate the cheat. Just type it into either, you know, other platforms, or even on YouTube Shorts, there's a lot of creators that will show you how to do that. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for me to explain it. Sometimes better to see someone else take you through the process. So now we are in this room, and for this room the color scheme is a green and pink. I like to choose a color scheme for a room and then go with a color scheme. So I chose not green and pink, what am I talking about, green and purple sorry. And this bed actually came with that update that we got, I think, before Businesses and Hobbies, and I think it's referred to as the LGBTQI plus update or something like that. And it came with all of these beds, and I think there was also wall art that came with that, with, you know, colors that goes after certain flags that are associated with the groups. And then yeah, I've used it a lot since we got it, so I think I do really like the bed. I use it in all 3 builds since that update, so I must like it. I like the colors in it. So I use the green and purple swatch for this, and then I use this shelf that we got. Well, it's called a faux stone wall from the sleek bathroom kit. I've been using it in every single bedroom since we got it. Well, not every single bedroom, but most of the bedrooms, to place this shelf behind the bed so that I can, you know, put clutter up there and stuff. It's the easiest way than, you know, trying to create a windowsill with a window that doesn't have one. So you use that shelf instead, or wall, whatever you want to call it, and then you place a lot of books and trinkets and everything on it to just make it look a little bit more lived in. And this is the room that I was speaking about that looks a little bit more lived in, that I think if the person, you know, I had another sim staying with him, they would have the sim staying in this room like a roommate or whatever. And so I just used the Dream Mom decorator cabinets and that wicker basket, the X decoration, whatever, knick-knack, I think is what you would call it, is also from Dream Mom decorator. The candle is from bathroom clutter or everyday clutter. I always confuse the two of them because I got them at the same time, and so they, you know, the objects kind of, unless it is like a bathroom object, then I would know it is from the bathroom clutter kit, but if it's not, then I don't know which one it came from. And then I definitely know that that watch is from everyday clutter, the watch with a little, I think it's like a calendar, and then there's glasses in it. The chaos tray is from the sleek bathroom kit as well, that has the brush and the claw clip in it. And then those plants are eco lifestyle. And then the other stuff that I placed in there, like, you know, the shirts are from base game, the towels are from base game, and then the other towels, which is not really supposed to be towels in this room, it's supposed to, you know, represent something else that's folded, is also from sleek bathroom. And then I just went with these base game curtains, and then that mirror is from high school years, and I like the colors in that mirror. The purple was just like perfect to fit with, you know, the other purple colors in that room. Oh yes, one problem that I did run into with that room is the ottoman in front of the bed. No matter how I placed it or moved it, even though there is enough space, the sim just did not want to sit on it when I was playtesting this build. So I ended up removing it and replacing it with a single ottoman. I think it may be from, I don't know which kit that's from, but yeah, I ended up replacing it with a single ottoman there. And then the reason why I built this column in a lot of industrial or factory kind of style builds, or places, you will often see these random columns, and they most of the time are structural columns. And so I just wanted to have something in that space, and I thought that column is perfect, and then placed art on it as well, just to, you know, have more art in this build. And now we have moved on to the art studio that I'm building, and the idea is that, you know, this is a very lived in art studio. The person that lives here spends most of their time in here, I feel like, and just working on drawing. And that's what you see me working on right now, you know, the place where they create all of the sketches and come up with the ideas and stuff. In this art studio, I used a lot of the art studio kit. I think mainly, like I said, built this penthouse because of the art studio kit. So I used a lot of that. And of course, I used some of the stuff that we got from base game to, you know, create an art studio with, I guess. So yes. And then for the easels, I do end up placing the one from the art studio kit, but I think I'm going to change out the other one because I'm going to try to place a painting on the other one, which you will see me do later. And I slant the painting on that easel, but it doesn't look like it fits nicely, and so that's why I ended up changing the easel out and using a different one. You'll see me do that now. I'm using the Get Famous painting to do that. The Get Famous painting had some of the best swatches that went with the style of this house, so I used that one painting a lot of times, or many times throughout this build. And So yeah, and I also wanted this really big window wherever I had the easel. And one of the reasons why I switched this art studio also from that other room that I initially planned to have it in was because I could not really place the window there like I wanted it to be. Like I wanted it like this, but if I tried to do it in that space, I would have had to change the outside of the bulb because of the bump outs that I did. So I just decided to make it on a separate end and make it like, you know, this whole other section of the house where they come and they spend a lot of their time in and they work in to, I don't know, sell their art, I guess. And then here I used the spray cans. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, but I used that, and then I flipped one on its side using tool mode. And then those paint cans in the back are from City Living Debug or Live Edit, one of the two. And the other paintings that are, you know, stacked and stuff, one of them is from Base Game, and then the other one I think is from Get Famous. And then on this side, I use once again a lot of the art studio kit to just create a wash area. And I do end up removing that stool later on and placing down shelves from Snowy Escape. And then I wanted to create an island in the middle to kind of, you know, have a place where they store all of their paints and, I don't know, different things that they would need to create art. But I wanted it to be in a very messy way. Yeah, so that's what I did in the middle. So I used, it's actually a coffee table from Businesses and Hobbies that I used for the middle. I did this in my Artistic Alchemy build as well. I like the shelf on the bottom that you can place other things on as well. It kind of adds to the messier look, the more shelf space that, you know, I had for this build. So right now I have it in the tables next to each other like that, but I'm gonna create more of an island shape so that there's more space in the bowl. And then as always, I always forget to place a bun in the kitchen, so I ended up going back and placing that bun. That bun is from the first rewards event that we had, and it is a bun that is different colors, but it's the same as the one that we get with the base game that gives you money back when you throw things in it. So I always use that bin just because it automatically cleans itself, and I really do not have the time to have my Sims empty out the bin every day. Even though some people like those kind of chores for their Sim, I don't know if I like them for mine because I don't even like them in real life. So I try to avoid that and, you know, just use that bin. So yeah, you see me doing that with the shelves, with the Snowy Escape shelf, and then I found sponges in Debug, and also this soap tray from, there you see me place it now, a soap tray from Bathroom Clutter, and then the other paint, like the bowls and stuff with the paint brushes and stuff in, that is from Business and Hobbies, and it's actually for the pottery hobby, but I think it fits well with, you know, the art hobby as well. And then I just had to take an entire break to like go through a whole coughing phase because I am actually still sick. I don't know what is going on with the month of May, but it is not treating me well at all, but I'm okay. And initially I was going to post this video without any voiceover, just so you know, some relaxing music in the background, but it didn't feel right for me to do that after like almost a month of not doing this. And I wanted to speak about this build because I really did enjoy doing the inside of the build, and I wanted to describe what I was doing and also describe some of the changes that I did end up making, because after 3 weeks and then looking at this build, I was like, why did you do that? And that mainly pertains to the outside of the build. Not really a lot of changes on the inside, except for ones that came up during playtesting, and I think there was one wall that I changed, because I'll explain when we get into that room. It was just a little bit intense after the fact. When I looked at it again, I was like, no, I should have made this wall a different color. So I'll explain that when we get there. But one thing I want to speak about is how we're feeling about the Fairies leak, guys. So if you don't want any spoilers, I think at this point maybe just don't listen to what I'm saying. But I saw in the live stream, well, it's not a leak anymore, is it? because last night there was this live stream with Meg the Stallion, and I think her name is Queen Blackwell. She's like an influencer, and in that video there was like a small little trailer of this fairy house, and the fairy house is like having a little party. So I think fairies are coming. The only thing that gives me pause is that it looks like it's coming in an expansion pack, and the last occult that we got in an expansion pack I think was mermaids. And if you have watched any of my previous videos, you know I think mermaids have been done dirty, because as someone who grew up obsessed with mermaids, there's just so much more they could have done to make mermaids like a fully fleshed out occult, like they maybe did with werewolves. But then again, you can also say that there were things that they missed with werewolves. So I don't know how to feel about it coming in a expansion pack. Maybe it's a game pack, you know, maybe there was a leak about it being an expansion pack a few weeks ago. I have been keeping up to date with, you know, things happening in the Sims community while I was away. But I don't know, but I'm excited though. One of my most favorite builds that I've ever done, and also I think the one that really started my it is the one that I started my Patreon for, started my Sims 4 file share for, was the Sims 4 fairy like little school that I made in Sylvan Glade. If you don't know, Sylvan Glade is a secret world in not a secret world, but more like a secret place in Willow Creek. So there's one of these houses in Willow Creek that has this tree, and then you go through several questions to get through the tree, and the tree leads you into Sylvan Glade. And there is a lot at Sylvan Glade that you can build on, but it's a really, really small lot. It's like 15 by 15. And if you use, I don't have it in my game anymore, but I used the Spinning Plum Bobs mod, Fairy versus Witches, and that converts Sylvan Glade into like a fairy realm. And so I built something there for that. I'll put in a picture, because you know that build is so special to me, and I really do like how that build turned out. And I think to date it's one of my most downloaded builds on my Patreon, so I will put that up there. It does have CC in it, so there's that. But I'm excited, you know, for the idea of fairies. I'm excited for what kind of builds I would be able to create with that. I do like building for occults, so yeah, it does excite me. But then again, it does give me a little bit of pause, because I'm scared that it will just not have the content that we expect if it's in an expansion pack and it's not in a more focused pack like a game pack or whatever. But you know, if it is a expansion pack fully focused on, you know, the fairies and everything that we associate with fairies, then I think it can be really good. But then it's also a thing of every other occult where we've gotten that kind of expansion pack, not expansion pack, every type of pack where we've gotten that kind of occult that is fleshed out in that way has been a game pack. So I don't know, you know, as someone who is South African, where these packs are exorbitant prices, I would prefer if it was in a game pack form, because then it would be a little bit cheaper. But I don't know, we'll see. I'm excited though. So I think the roadmap is coming out on the 5th of June, and then we'll get a trailer on the 15th or the 12th of June, the full trailer for the Fairies expansion pack. And then I think it will be coming out sometime around my birthday, so which is in July. So that will probably be a little birthday present for myself. And then yeah, I'll get to build during that time as well, when the pack comes out, because I had taken leave for an extended period in July. So I am looking forward to it. But anyways, back to what I was doing. So in the other room that you just saw me do, I made another little living room, a more simple living room this time around, and once again keeping it, you know, very colorful and so on. And you didn't see me do the hallway and then this one bathroom, just because the hallway was, you know, the hallway. There wasn't much that I did there. And then this bathroom, I had already done the bathroom downstairs, so I didn't want to, you know, this video is already really long, and I can't even tell you why it's so long, but I did try to cut it down as much as I could. So yeah, I don't know. But in the bathroom right now, I was struggling with marrying the bathroom and then, you know, this room, because the room looks really light but the bathroom is really dark. So I did end up changing the color. I think I actually did show changing the color, and it took me so long to decide the bed, which is why the room starts with the bed, because I was editing and waiting for a point where, you know, I finally decided the bed to clip the clip at, oh my word, okay, whatever. And it just never came because I just kept on changing the bed so fast. So I just started with the bed there. But I think the bed is from City Living. And for that room, I didn't really have much of a color scheme, but I was trying to match it with, once again, I used one of the billboards from Love Struck to use as art, I think, in the shower. And so I was trying to match the colors there as well. And then this room, I would say, is the main room, and this is where I changed that one wall I was speaking about that was a little bit too intense, and it's this tiled wall. The tile, I think, is from Love Struck. When I went back in, I was like, I think it's a little bit too much. But for this room, I was using an inspo photo, and it had this leopard print, not leopard print, oh my word, zebra print carpet with the mustard green tones. So I wanted to use that in here, didn't use it anywhere else. But my goal also for this house was for every room to tell a different story. You know, like in those architectural digest videos, sometimes you'll have the rooms be very different from one another, but then they're also like somewhat cohesive. And then the person who's showing you around the house is telling you that they wanted the house to have or every room to have a different story. That was exactly the vibes that I was going for in this house. Like, just imagine someone showing this to you on Architectural Digest, and I think it makes sense. So what I did end up doing with that wall is just changing it to a black tile, I think, or a black solid wall. And then, yeah, I think it made it look a little bit better, less intense, I guess, the word I've been using to describe it. And then on the side, I just placed down that cabinet. It's from Vintage Glamour. And then in there you kind of see a snippet of the bathroom. Didn't want to really repeat the bathroom again, but I just ended up, oh yes, I forgot to place when I was play testing this lot, I realized I forgot to place a toilet in that bathroom. I did end up placing it, so you will definitely be seeing a toilet there when I upload the build. And then for this room, like I said, I had this extra space, and you can definitely make it another room, like a separate room, because you have the door that comes out of the second living room leads onto a balcony, and then the balcony leads onto this room. So you can definitely like make it a gym, a home office. I just felt like I didn't really need another office because, you know, their workspace is primarily the art studio. You can make it did I say another room? So another room, a gym, a home office, or you could keep it the game room like I had it, and I guess use it like that. I can't think of what else you could at the moment, but there's definitely several other things that you can use this room for. Maybe like a closet. No, why would you have a closet be so separate from your room? But anyways, yeah. So I decided to have it as a game room, and I didn't place any bar on this lot. I think I just like didn't want to, because honestly I place a bar on every single lot. So I guess we will say here that the person who also lives here doesn't drink, and that will be the reason why we don't have a bar on this lot. And then once again, I did place down a mirror from what's high school years, and then the arcade game that you see there is from Get Together. And I think also the foosball table and the what do you call this, table tennis, that's from Discover University, isn't it? But it's either from Get Together or Discover University. Then because I created a 2-story living room and I wanted to use these vents, I don't like that it's hanging from nothing. I think that's what you call them, vents. But I don't like that it's hanging from nothing. I don't like that the light is hanging from nothing, like it's not anchored to something. So I just decided to create that beam with the Love Struck beams. And then I also used a different light, which I did post post filming these clips, I used a different light to anchor the one that's at the bottom in the living room to the ceiling. So yeah, because I don't like that it's hanging from nothing. And then for the outside, I did want to have a small pool area. Like I said, the outside I'm on the fence about, so you can let me know what I should have done to make it look a little bit better. But I wanted to post this mainly for the inside. But for the outside, I wanted to create a small pool area, and then I placed down these chairs. I think I do end up changing those lounges to ones from Island Living, and they have this hypnotic kind of pattern on it. And I decided to create a small seating area here. I used the couches from Seasons. I did run into some issues with playtesting this part, and it's because for some reason when I placed those planters from City Living behind the couches, when I tried to make my Sims sit on the couch, they would not. No matter how I placed the couch, I first thought it was the fireplace coffee table that was creating the conflict, but it wasn't. It was those planters. So I ended up removing them, and then I placed down the wall. It's like wall plants in a frame from Eco Lifestyle instead, just so that there was some kind of plant material in the background. I wanted to bring out the green color of the plants, and yeah, so I removed that from there and then placed that down. And like I said, use the couches from Seasons, and then the other plants I think is from Eco Lifestyle. The one that has the rails with the hanging plants is from Blooming Rooms kit, which is such a good plant kit in my opinion, and one of my most recommended kits for this game. Yeah, that kit and Castle Estates kit, which I know may be a controversial opinion for some people, but that is my favorite kit, and I will stand by that. And then I used the awnings from the Desert Lux, the Desert Lux kit to create some, cover. And I was gonna try and put down spandrels, but because of the freezes, the spandrels will not be at the same height, and so I ended up removing it, placing down this column instead to have something there to look as if it was supporting it. And then I used the lights from Desert Lux, I think it is, to just have some extra lighting there. I do think now maybe I should have placed down some fairy lights or whatever, but I am not gonna go and make any more changes to this lot. I think if you want some fairy lights, there are really good ones in the new one that we got with Businesses and Hobbies, just to light up the place a little bit more. And then I was looking for plants to place down here as well. I ended up placing the ones from City Living, but when I went back in, I actually really didn't like how they look. So I changed them out with the one that we got from Businesses and Hobbies that I placed in the pool, or not in the pool, but by the pool. You see those plants that I just showed now. I actually placed them in those things, but I removed then the other City Living ones, and I just add the ones from Businesses and Hobbies. And then here you see me place down just this small table and then 2 chairs, but afterwards I realized that I did not have any barbecue areas or outdoor eating areas, and so I placed down a barbecue and a 4-seater table under the tree, so that there was somewhere to eat outside. And then also placed down those garden beds, and then made this section where you could find the gardening tools and materials and so on. But like I said, I did end up making one big change on the outside of this build, and that is to remove the circular roof that was on the middle portion of the build. You'll see me kind of zoom out on the build as it was when I finished building it, and then as it is now. Let me know which one is better. I'm not above criticism, and honestly I would like some advice for the outside of this build. I will be uploading the one as it is now, but yeah, that is all for this video. You can find this build under SimWithMishka on the gallery. If you have any other ideas, please pop that in the comments. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye bye.